and welcome. On our today's headline, U.S. commits $3.5 million to monitor Nigeria's religious violence. Nigerian Labour Congress demands 1 million naira minimum wage. Rejects 100,000 naira proposal. Oyo adoption. Kidnappers demand direct talks with government. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere. To further break down these headlines are two political analysts, Vincent Okoro and Emerald Nufe. It's a pleasure to have you join us again, Vincent.
It's a pleasure as well to be here with you and my co-panelists.
And to you, Emerald, good to have you join us again.
Good to be here. Thank you, Casey. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, Vincent, let's quickly dive in. So the U.S. Department of State has announced $3.5 million funding opportunity to improve the documentation, monitoring, and reports of religious freedom abuse in Nigeria. That is approximately like 5 billion naira that the U.S. Department has committed to Nigeria. So with a $3.5 million grant from the U.S., will it actually reduce the local violence that Nigerians are experiencing?
Well, if you are talking about, if you are saying local violence, if you look as if we are talking about two fighting in the streets of Nigeria, we are actually talking about the insecurity that is breaking our nation down here. Mm-hmm. We are talking about insecurity that is being powered by extremist groups, religion extremist group, and the tribal groups, across the landscape of Nigeria. That's what we are talking about here. Now, the U.S. have come out to tell the world that Nigeria has been listed as one of the countries of
particular concern.
Particular concern. Now, the U.S. between last year or this current dispensation has actually matched its words with action. We have had about collaboration as far as breaking down certain elements that are perpetrating security in part of the North. We have come out with the collaboration, in trying to see how they can address the security in the landscape of the North. Now, it's not just about dropping bombs here and dropping bombs there alone. So they have come out to say, okay, these are some other steps that we are taking in order for us to curb insecurity, especially when it comes to religion extremism. Now, if that is going to help, in fact, curbing insecurity is another thing. But the fact remains that if the U.S. cough, the entirety of the world catches cold, especially Nigeria in this case. Now, it's not just the action alone now. If I am a perpetrator or a party to the fermentation of insecurity in Nigeria, and I hear that the U.S. government is committing this kind of amount of money into information gathering, logistics, and all the rest of them, then I should now begin to think twice, except if I've decided to donate my life, to be taken out at any time. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that what the U.S. is trying to do, as far as assisting our government is concerned in fighting security, is a welcome development. Then on the other way around, what is our own government doing to complement the effort of the U.S.? As a matter of fact, we are a sovereign nation and our government should be at the forefront as far as the fighting of insecurity is concerned. We don't want a situation where we now begin to lose sense of nationhood, that there's a kind of imperialism as far as the relationship between the U.S. and Nigeria is concerned in fighting insecurity. So what the U.S. is trying to do right now, I think is something that is a welcome development.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent, for that analysis. Over to you, Emerald. In Vincent's analysis, he mentioned that the U.S. President Donald Trump initially, late last year, tagged Nigeria as a country of particular concern. And then he also said that the U.S. is a country that when they drop bomb, the whole nation coughs. So, U.S., for instance, them coming now to stake a whole $3.5 billion to sorting out insecurity and then the issue of insecurity that we're facing in Nigeria, then initially sometime last week, they mentioned that over 30,000 Fulani militants are the one causing this chaos across the country. So with the US coming out to fund this developments, are they not violating Nigeria's sovereignty? Because we know that Nigeria is a country of its own. Are they not, violating our own sovereignty? And then why is the US, why are they targeting the middle belt instead of the northeast?
Well, Cassie, I know one thing for sure, that it's such a shame that we have to wait for an external power to come in to wash our dirty plates and all of that. Now, over the years, we have had to talk about this same issue over and over again. When is it going to stop? What if the US did not come in? So are we saying that the whole entire country of Nigeria will be wiped away? This is not just affecting the north, the northerners alone, or the Christians in the north. I heard sometime that there were rumors that some of these guys, some of these militants were sighted here in Rivers State. Now, US coming in with such power, with such influence, it goes to say a lot about our leadership here in Nigeria. Do we wait for these people to come in to do our own domestic work for us? The Oyo incident, I saw a 2-year-old on the floor, lying down on the bare floor. It breaks my heart that a president of a nation will wait for days without saying anything, without doing anything. Now we're talking about the money that US government is bringing in. How effective is it even going to be when we don't even have anyone to support us here in the country? Now, again, when you talk about this militant, they are being supported by influential persons, whether we like it or yes.
Exactly.
So when is it going to end? It won't end because there is a certain benefit that they are getting.
All right, thank you so much. Because you've mentioned the Oyo State incident, we're supposed to have this as our last discussion, but I will bring it up because it tallies with the US coming in. Yes. So the Oyo State, on the 15th of May 2026, there was a massive adoption in Oyo State where a school principal in a community, one Ahuru Esli community, where they adopted the principal, one Mrs. Rachel Alamu. They adopted her. Her husband happened to be a professor in one of the university, the technology university. Now, these people have been in captive for 17 whole days.
Imagine.
17 whole days. They happen to be the 17th day. And the kidnappers are demanding that they only want to hear from the state governor, which is Sheyi Makinde, and the state government. Because you mentioned that these bandits, they have supporters, they have people who are their backbones, the politicians. So my question is, why would they be demanding to hear from the federal or from the state government instead of the victim's family? Because according to the woman's husband, they have not asked for any ransom from them. They've not demanded anything from them. They only want to hear from the state government. Why are they demanding to hear from the state government?
Cassie, I'm asking the same question too. What is the connection? Now, if we talk about any issue in Nigeria that is politically related, what is the political relationship between this particular woman and the state government? Is there anything that the governor is supposed to say to us? Is there anything that they need from the, because on a normal day, a kidnapper picks some people
and then
they relate directly. Yes, they relate directly with the family. So the interest now becomes very highly something that you begin to think very seriously. Why do they demand to hear from this person? So the governor is supposed to tell us what is really going on. What is the relationship between the lady in question and the state government? Why do they want to hear from this woman? So I think we're all in the dark too, Casey. So we need answers as well. We need answers. Until we can have answers, I think this whole thing is going to go on and go on. Imagine 17th day. This is the 17th day. You and I cannot survive even in the smallest of our backyard under one night. How much more human beings to stay in and nobody is doing anything? Now they are demanding to speak with the state government. I don't get it. So you also ask another person maybe who will be able to have answers. Please, Mr. Vincent,
all right,
can help
Vincent,
us.
Do you have a contrary opinion?
Of course, I should possibly have a contrary opinion. Reason being that when you are looking at an issue, it's possible that it has the other side of it. Like as people say, every coin has the head and the tail.
Yeah.
Now, the school in question is a public school, right?
Yes.
It's a public
It's a community school.
Then it's not a private school. As if it's a private school, maybe will not have a validity. As far the reason why should they be talking about speaking with the state government or federal government or whichever. Now, it's a public school. The person we are talking about is a public servant.
Yeah.
If you ask me, the government are the ones that should take responsibility. As far trying to see how they can locate the to locate the victims, and of course, if there will be need for negotiation, to equally negotiate with the kidnappers. Now, for the principal of the school and the parents of the kidnapped victims, the husband in case here. Now, what level do they have? What potential do they have to even be able to negotiate with people that we have been identified as anti-state elements that are working against the progress of Nigeria? We all know far before this time that there's a lot of political coloration. Far all this kidnapping and banditry and all,
right.
know, there's political coloration to it. And when we are talking about politics, we are talking about government. So when I actually heard the what is it called that the bandits are actually asking to negotiate directly with government, to me, I saw that as some kind of light at the end of the tunnel, because if the bandits decide now that they need 500 million naira to set these people free, is it at that point you will now start running around as an individual to raise such amount of ransom? So if they are willing to negotiate with the government, please, the government of the day should rise to the occasion so that these children can come out. Now, another issue is this: the husband of the adoptee is trying to make us understand that there's a kind of communication between himself and the adopters. Yeah. Then how he should be looking at how he can bring the government in. And then another thing is that we don't want to negotiate with you, we want to negotiate with the government. So is it that the government is not actually rising to the occasion? Is it that the bandits themselves, they are tired of keeping them and then they want a quick way for whatever reason? So to me, the government should please rise up to the occasion. It is not for me, if I'm the husband of this principal, it's not for me to be mourning about the kidnap of my wife. And at the same time, I will not be the one that will be negotiating for their release when the government is there. So that's how I see it.
Following...
Okay. Casey, I'd like to add something or suggest or say something about what you just said. Now, I know that in a certain year in Cross River State, I'm telling you what actually happened in Cross River State. There was a year where almost on every week, doctors working in general hospitals or government hospitals were being kidnapped. Yeah. Now, I never heard for one day that any of these kidnappers wanted to negotiate with the government.
Exactly.
What is the interest with this lady? Hold on, sir. Hold on. Okay. Now, what is the interest with this particular lady? When you say that, okay, they want to talk to the government, I've never had a situation like this where kidnapped victims or their kidnappers want to talk to the government. Is there something special?
Yes.
There are many public servants who have been kidnapped before.
That is where I'm coming in. Now, if an individual is kidnapped, they will try to establish the context within which that kidnapping happened. Now, for example, if I'm a public servant and then I'm kidnapped, God forbid, anyway, I'm kidnapped in my home, then it could be that I have a business with somebody that could lead to that. But we are talking about a whole school being carted away in broad daylight here. We are not talking about one or two, we are not talking about 2 or 3 individuals being the kidnappers now, trying to apprehend a single individual, let's say with a Corolla vehicle.
Okay.
So we are talking about a rope used to tie a scores of human beings together and taken to the bush.
So the question could be:
now,
is there a cover up to cover up some plot or something?
It's not about cover up now. We are talking about what is the motive of the kidnappers. Is it for them to drive a message to the government? That is what we are saying. Because if it is for individual, the woman in question, we learned that she travels every day over 60 kilometers.
62 kilometers.
62 kilometers from her residence to the school. So if she was the subject that will now begin to talk about individual negotiation with the bandit, then they should have waited for her somewhere. Somewhere. But we are saying that now. Remember that when you kidnap an adult, then there is a level of sympathy compared to when you kidnap children. Just as you said, we saw videos and pictures of some of them lying down on bed for kids.
Therefore, yes.
Yes. Now, so what I'm trying to say is that this has more to do with the government than the case of kidnapping a medical doctor. Now, for example, if we have a general hospital, then we have scores of doctors and nurses being rounded up and taken to the bush. Then it cannot be scaled to the level of individual battle. That is government. But when we are talking about, say, just a single doctor, you're on your way on your vehicle to there's some miscreants block you and take you away, then that becomes an individual issue. Of which, of course, even at that, we still talk about the government, because our roads ought to be secured by the government. Our institutions ought to be secured by the government. Even our homes, the government has the responsibility to make sure that Nigerians are secured in their home. So everything, no matter how you want to look at it, boils down to the government. Yes.
Okay, but what if this demand from the kidnappers is actually to destabilize them or your state's governor? We all know that he's the presidential aspirant for APM. Your state is the presidential aspirant. What if this demand from the kidnappers is actually to destabilize him, just to shift his focus?
Exactly. That is why, in analyzing this particular issue, we need to cast our net very wide. Otherwise, we look at it in a very narrow vacuum, and then we end up kind of making mistakes in trying to draw conclusion as to the bone and muscles as far as this particular kidnapping issue is concerned. Now you just raise a point. It could be that they are trying to destabilize the Oyo state government. Far before this time, we have seen situations where insecurity is capitalized on by some of our state actors. When I say state actors, I'm talking about our public officials, in order to get to one another as far as trying to score cheap political points is concerned, or in order for them to further their own aspiration. Election is by the corner. Suddenly we are seeing cases of insecurity everywhere. And you want to tell me that it's not about the government? Please, it's about the government.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent. Emerald, lastly, before we move to our next discussion, following the mass adoption in Oyo State, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has actually approved the immediate recruitment of over 1,000 forest guards and ordered the deployment of specialized tactical rescue team. You know that in Oyo State, they already have this local security agent like the Amotegun. Instead of the federal government creating a brand new layer of 1,000 forest guards, why don't they use this money and fund this Amotegun, armed them, and then legally empower them for this war front, since they already have this existing structure in the state?
Casey, it's been a repeated pattern in Nigeria that it's unfortunate that most times when there is an issue, especially the security problem in Nigeria, that the government don't have a structure at all, don't have a structure of operation, structure of whatever it is. Now, when that happened, he had to employ all of that. Of what use is it? It doesn't make any sense. There are people there, there are officials there, whether or unofficially or whatever, that are in that community that, if they are properly equipped, can do exactly, instead of going to employ all of that. Now, that is not the primary concern. The primary concern is, what are the measures that have been put in place to stop this menace? Every other day we hear kidnapping, we hear killings. I mean, they will have the effrontery to film this thing and show it live. How a man, someone will put a knife on someone's neck and peel it off, just like that. Going to employ 1,000, has it solved any problem? Will it solve any problem? Yes.
I tend to disagree with you a little when you say that it doesn't make any sense, because it's like we are trying to be unfair on the part of the government. Now, why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Now, like she said, we have a Motekuna grant, and there is hardly a community in Nigeria where we don't have local security, you know, being controlled by either the chiefs, the Ezes, the the Obas and what have you. Yeah. Then we have a state police. We have police. Then we have army in almost in all the states in Nigeria. Army barracks scattered all over all the states in Nigeria. Now, if I am a government, these people have been empowered in one way or the other. The Omotekun that you are talking about is a central security structure across the southwest. We have Nigerian police that is accountable to the federal government. We have the army accountable to the federal government. We have community policing. When I say community policing, I'm not talking about being controlled by the state, being controlled at the community level. Where were all these people? Are you going to tell me here that none of them have been funded by the government? Is it that the money that is being voted for security in our budget does not get to all the security architecture that I just mentioned here? So if I'm Tinubu, for example, then I see that, okay, how come we have all the security that we have been paying, and then this kind of issue happen, and there is no solution, and decide to come up with what I think will work for my government? So I think we should cut the government a little slack in this particular issue. So now, because you are saying that they should have, you are rather, Casey, you are saying that they should have, reinforced what they've been giving to the police, the army, and all the rest of the another local security. Are you going to tell me that this has not been done? I believe that the government may have done their job over time and say that, okay, these people that we have been funding are falling short. Let us see if we can have a different strategy. Where I'm going to have serious problem with the government is if these children are not released soonest, especially with this forest guard that we are hearing. Let us see what comes out for it. So
exactly the point. Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly the point. Cutting them the slack does not bring the children out.
No, it doesn't bring the children out. We are talking about giving them the opportunity to explore this particular avenue of setting up the forest guard.
Mr. Vincent,
because of course,
do you know how many years we have had to handle this same issue over and over again?
Then we are
should not wait for U.S. government to step in.
We are talking about our army that have not been, that practically have not been able to solve insecurity issue. So if the government of the day as it is today decide that forest guard possibly made up of hunters that know all the corners of our forest can do the job, let us give them the benefit of that and see what comes out.
All right, we actually hope for the best, because this is how President Bola Ahmed Tinubu promised us 500 CCTV cameras, and then we haven't seen anything. So we hope that this 1,000 deployment of forest guard actually comes out, and not just for the cameras and the social media alone. Away from that, to another development, the Nigerian Labour Congress are demanding for 1 million naira minimum wage instead of 100,000. Wow. And then the Nigerian Governors Forum, they are saying that the minimum wage should be 100,000 naira, and then the NLC are actually demanding for 1 million naira. Given the massive boost in state allocations from the fuel subsidy, what will 100,000 naira do for a typical civil servant?
Yeah. Okay, our government have a way of responding to violence. When I say violence, I don't mean when you carry knife and cutlass and enter the street to start destroying things. I mean when citizens start protesting and the citizens mean it, then our government have a way of responding. So on that note, maybe I'll begin to think of becoming a civil servant. Because this 1 million that I'm hearing, with the way things are very, very expensive, cost of living everywhere and all the rest of them, maybe there's something close to that. There's something that is coming after 2027 election. Now back to your question with respect to what 100,000 they are proposing can do for the average Nigerian. Of course, that is to me an insult again. Now we have this issue of 70,000 minimum wage that is being paid right now. That happened about 3 years ago now.
Some states are not even keeping to it.
Some states are not keeping to it, though some are even doing more. But if you check inflation, the inflation trend between when 70,000 was instituted and now, you will see that even double of that amount cannot take an average Nigerian home in the name of being a minimum wage.
Exactly.
Now, so what the government is saying, or the governors are proposing, that is going to be 100,000 minimum wage. So I don't know if they are trying to look at their employees in state and federal civil service as members of nursery and primary school children who don't have direct responsibility. Then they are being fed, then this becomes just their pocket money. Because to me, it's an insult. It's height of insensitivity when it comes to the way the country is right now in terms of our purchasing power.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent. Just like Vincent said, the way the economy is, I mean, 100,000 naira it can barely do anything for a family of maybe 5. A family of 5. I mean, the high cost of fuel transportation.
Going too far. 3, 2.
Exactly. The high cost of transportation, living condition, feeding. You go to the market, the prices of things in the market are skyrocketing by the day. And then housing. Landlords are increasing their rents every single day. Schools are increasing school fees. Hospital healthcare services is increasing by the day. So what can a typical 100,000 do for a civil servant? Some states are even pushing forward. Some states like the Imo State, Lagos, and even River State, they've actually approved 104,000. But then it's still not enough. So why is this Nigerian Governors Forum, why are they still headbent on 100,000 naira? Meanwhile, they are not even receiving 100,000, because if they were, they would not be killing themselves for positions.
Well, it goes so far to say so much about our Nigerian leadership. Everybody's gunning for what will come into his or her pocket. So putting forth 100,000 naira for a family, even for a single person, I mean, just like you counted out, it doesn't make any sense at all. You have to spend transport for a month to go out to your office or your business place for a month, about 30 to 40,000 in a month. Now, by the time you remove that, and then of course, family members, when they hear that, okay, that you're working, everybody wants to be on your neck, to share something from you. You yourself, in a month, you calculating how much you eat. 100,000, just like Mr. Vincent said, I honestly agree with him, is an insult.
Exactly.
It won't do anything. Now, these governors, I remember when the issue with the NLC happened again a few years ago, for where they are right now, from what it was to 70,000 to 70. It took a long time. A lot of debates up and down, a lot of striking up and down. NSA will go.
Of delay tactics.
Honestly. So now you're even talking about 100,000. Which Nigerian government would approve that? It's funny, but it's not funny. It's very annoying.
Very, very.
They have all kinds of allowances. They have allowance to just sit down and not do anything. They have allowance for all sorts of things.
Breathing allowance.
Yes. To drink water, you have an allowance for it. And then something as simple as the basics for a citizen is debated over. That is a height of inhumanity to people.
Thank you so much, Emerald, for that wonderful analysis.
Yeah, you're welcome, Cassie. Thank you.
We've come to the end of the show, State of the Matters. Many thanks, Vincent, for joining us on the show. It's a pleasure to always have you.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here. I just want to say briefly that our civil servants advocating for #1 million, we should have a more realistic front so that we don't look stupid. Because at #1 million, it means that we'll be taking almost a quarter of our budget for salary payments alone. We don't want a situation where almost everything about our budget is all about expenditure. So they should be more realistic and then bring up something that at least any person that hears it we actually know that we are serious people. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Emerald, for joining us on the show. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me today.
And for the Nigerian Labour Congress, I think we will need to use the APC broom and sweep out all the corrupt leaders that we have there.
Yes.
And to you, our amazing viewers, many thanks for watching. I am Kasitoni reminding you to stay informed and stay ahead.
Yeah.
And do well to join us next time for more breaking news. A beautiful day to you.